Now, some of you may remember that when we were in Amsterdam, I said that we should take inspiration from the people of Greece. So now that we're in Athens, I think I should elaborate a bit on what I meant. The first thing to say is that the Greeks have a proud tradition of taking to the streets against wars or against pay cuts or against police brutality. For example, when the police murdered a 15-year-old boy on this street a couple of years ago, it sparked a huge uprising. One of the things that the rioters did was rip up a car park and turn it into this garden, which now acts as a permanent memorial to the incident. But much more importantly, when faced with the same austerity measures, that is the same public spending cuts and the same attacks on wages that all of us now face across Europe and beyond, the Greeks took the lead of saying, no, it's not our debt, we refuse to pay it.
It's not our debt. It was never money that were spent for the people. This is very simple. So this debt is not from the people.
The question is, what is Greece? If we say that Greece is bankers, the answer would be we should pay up the debt. But if talking about Greece, we talk about the ordinary people. The answer is that we should stop paying for this debt.
We have to demand the cancellation of the debt. Don't pay the banks. Don't pay IMF and the European Union. And organize the struggle in this mood, with nationalization of the banks, to impose to the government a law against the sacking of workers in the factories, to demand increases in the salaries and so on.
Now, there are some right-wing commentators who would have you believe that Greece is on the verge of bankruptcy because the workers are lazy, because this is a siesta economy and so on. But the fact of the matter is that Greeks work a longer working week than the average in the Eurozone. They have a slightly higher retirement age, and they can expect their wages to be half that of a French worker. And those are the statistics for people lucky enough to have work. In a country of just 11 million people, 1 million are unemployed. There's nothing unique about Greece. The questions posed by its economic situation are questions that are coming to all of us soon enough.
I believe that Greece is more or less an experiment for Europe. It's an experiment because if all these measures pass now, after, it's going to be more easy for the other countries also to pass them. So it's not a Greek problem, it's an international problem. There is no difference between the worker in Britain and the worker in Greece. Sooner or later, all of them are going to have the same problems.
Tomorrow will be the 6th general strike here in the last 6 months. And even yesterday, on our drive in from the airport to the hotel, our bus was stopped by one of the feeder marches ahead of this big general strike tomorrow. Now, to get your head around a strike, you've got to get your head around class politics. You might remember when we were in Germany, I described how it is that all the wealth under capitalism is created by the workers. That's the people who do the work. Now, the ruling class and their representatives in governments around the world would rather we forgot that fact. And some of us do. Some of us find ourselves saying things like, well, if it wasn't for my boss, I wouldn't have a job. Now, what a strike does is remind everyone that if it wasn't for us lot, the bosses wouldn't be wealthy, that it's us lot who run the whole of society, so don't take the piss out of us. But the experience of going on strike can raise much more fundamental questions, as I touched upon when we were in St. Petersburg. If we do all the work in society and we've successfully organised this strike, perhaps we can organise our own workplace. Perhaps we don't need bosses telling us what to do. Perhaps we don't need a ruling class appropriating the surplus value of our labour, filling our minds with rubbish and sending us off to fight wars. Perhaps we need to get rid of capitalism and replace it with something better.
Everybody that goes in the street is anti-capitalist. It's the more general label that you can put right now.
What's the alternative to capitalism?
I think the alternative is quite easy to say. It's that a society where the majority of the people would take the work in their hands and organize the production and the circulation, taking into account the necessities of the people and not the profit. So that's there is a classical word, it's called socialism, and that's the answer.
There is There are two alternatives to the crisis. One is very openly barbarism, what they are pushing now for the workers, for the pensioners, for the immigrants. Because
So barbarism, you say?
yes, this is one choice, but this is real life now. This is what the governments and the European Union are pushing forward. And the other alternative is a society controlled by the assemblies of the workers, not the assemblies of the shareholders of the big banks and the multinationals and the companies, but the coordinating committees, the strike committees from the part of the workers. We believe that this is an open prospect in Greece because we have a strong left, we have an anti-capitalist left, we have a workers' movement that it is not defeated. Everything is on test now. We don't know if we will win, but we have our chances.
So it's the day of the strike, and I'm proud to be wearing my Union of Immigrant Workers t-shirt, which I picked up yesterday. But we've had to come to the airport to try to get back to Scotland for tea in the park. Now, one look at that departures board behind me tells you just how solid this strike is. Nothing's moving before 2 o'clock, which is the official end of the strike, and the vast majority of flights are cancelled. So it looks like we're going to be spending a few more hours in Greece, which is fine by me. I'll see you soon.